This first project I call a School of Fish. This video is part of a playlist. It's called the Recreation Inspiration Playlist. It happens every month on the 8th. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that. I chose a project by Julie at Crafty Beach. She's awesome. I'll have a link to the video in my description box below, and there she is creating her version. And now I'm not going to copy it, I'm going to recreate it like the name says, and I'm going to put my own spin on it. I don't use as many fish as she did. I wish maybe I had used like one more. I think she used like 7 and I'm only using 4 right now. I was playing around with the placement. I was trying to get an idea in my head of how I wanted to attach them together, and I kept changing my mind. But first things first, I taped off the top and bottom in order to paint the middle with my Rust-Oleum Linen White chalk paint. And I could have done like one fish at a time and reused the tape, but it just seems so labor intensive. So I taped all of them down so I could just, get that paint on there and not worry about getting it everywhere else. And I just used a small paintbrush to do it. I'm not sure if Julie used the same fish as I am. The shape of her seems a little bit different, and she used a lot of hot glue on hers, whereas I'm going to use like wood glue, hot glue, and staples at the end to keep them all together. So I got the middle of the fish done. Now I have this blue color that I sort of mixed up using 2 different blues. Basically wanted a dark sort of ocean blue for the top. And then I'll mix up like some grayish blue-green for the bottom. And it's already taken shape, and I just love the look with the 3 colors. I tried to remind myself not to paint it perfectly because I did want that sort of, worn nautical vibe or beachy vibe. And then there's the gray that I mixed up. I put a little bit of like the light blue in there. And these are folk art chalk paint, except for that blue there. That's a Waverly. And there it is with the 3 colors. Loving how it looks so far. There's all my fish ready to go. And I have my jumbo craft sticks. And I'm going to use those along with some tumbling tower blocks to get these together. And I just could not decide how to attach them. And I'm not even sure why I did them the way I did. I think maybe it was easier to get them attached to each other. But what I did is attach popsicle sticks to Jenga block for the front ones, and then that worked out to attach to the bottom ones. And I just did wood glue, hot glue, like I said earlier, but I also stapled them, and I didn't show that on camera. I stapled them right where I put the glue. Now to hang it up, I'm just going to use this picture hanger, because I'm trusting that these fish are adhered together really well. I actually don't take any of my reveal pictures until the next day. There's what it looks like. I got the eye on there using one of my Funsel dot markers in black. You see I do the last eye right there. And then a final sanding, and this project is ready to hang up year-round or just for the summer. Jumping in with a little bit more information about the playlist. It's called the Recreation Inspiration Playlist. It happens every month on the 8th, and this month's theme is home decor. Our hosts are Katie from Lady Red Crafting, and her guest host is Lolly from Lolly D Creations. Their channel links and a link to the playlist will be in my description box below. This project is a shell trinket tray, originally done by my sister Karen, doing business as Lavender and Daisy. She also makes really pretty jewelry, necklaces, and earrings. And then, of course, her shell trinket trays. So pretty. She uses oyster shells, which she says are in abundance, where she has a lot up near Mexico Beach in the panhandle of Florida. So for my trinket tray, I did not have any real shells that were big enough or pretty enough to use. So I'm using this shell that was originally in like a wall ornament. And in my last video, I pulled off the tassel. So here I pulled off the rope part, and I went in with some lightweight spackle to fill in the holes left behind. And then, of course, give it a quick sand. I waited a little while till it was starting to dry. Otherwise, you can't really sand it because it's kind of wet and smudgy. Now, I wanted a silver undertone to my shell. It had like a nice rustic undertone, but since I'm bordering the tray part of the shell with the silver, I wanted the back to have a little touch of silver as well. And you'll see it come in with the white, but the silver isn't totally dry, and so the white kind of muddied up the silver. So I'm going to let it dry while I'm working on it, and then I'll come back to it near the end. So this is just a scrap of napkin I had, and I love to save scraps that don't look like anything, look like trash, and then turn it into something beautiful, and that's what I'm doing right here. I'm just cutting a rough shape for my shell. Now, Mod Podge would do the trick here, but I like using this school glue stick when anything has like a curve or it's not flat. You know, anything that would be hard to put an iron on, because how I do my Mod Podge is let it dry and then iron the napkin to it. But you can't really do that here, so I use a school glue stick to do jars, like napkins on jars. So I'm using the napkin here for the shell with this glue stick. And I'm just softly rubbing my thumbs and fingers on the napkin. You don't want to push too much or you'll pull the napkin away. So just be careful, be delicate. I'm pulling away little bits of the napkin as I go and then sanding it down. And again, just a light sanding. You don't want to go too hard. That's just because the glue hasn't dried yet. So it's pretty damp and it will pull away. Now I'm coming in with my chalk paint and silver. I did have a silver marker, but I just couldn't get it to be as dark as I wanted. It was like really, I think the point of the marker was messed up. So I'm just using my paintbrush here. I got a nice little border. It's probably a little bit too big. It's much bigger than the one my sister did, but it's because of the shape of this shell. I love her borders on her shells. And if I had an oyster shell or a real shell, I would probably do a small border like hers. But the shape of this shell warranted a larger border like this. Now I'm coming in with some Mod Podge here at the end. This is a glossy Mod Podge. You could probably use the matte. However, I'm almost out of matte Mod Podge. And this is a glossy Mod Podge that used to belong to Grace. It was in Grace's stash when her family gifted it to me. And it's got to be like 3 or 4 years old. I can't believe it's still totally fine. It has like a smell like matte Podge does not. So it kind of smells like a paint or something. Better look in the final video. My last recreation of this video is a fish shelf sitter. It was originally recreated by Patti J. Good for her video 6 High-End Neutral Coastal DIYs. So for this project, it's pretty simple. A fish shape from Dollar Tree, that nautical type netting from Dollar Tree, a dowel, and a square piece of wood. I cut mine in a square shape. And also some kind of rope to wrap on at the tail and at the head. So that's how Patti did hers. So to start things off, I'm going to remove the rope that is already on there because the rope I have is not the same width. So I'm just going to redo the tail and then do the head with the same rope that I have there on the left. And I just used a pair of pliers to pull off the rope that was there. Now for the head, I'm going to try and save my rope because I am close to the end there. So I'm not going to wrap it all the way around. What I'm going to do is staple it to start. Then on the front, I'll put down a little bit of hot glue to keep it straight. And then instead of wrapping it around, I'll bring it to the back. But I will staple it instead. That was to start. There's the strip of glue across. Now here's the back again, and we're just going to staple it. And see how with the staple I can just loop it around and bring it back to the front. So I'll do that one more time to do 3 strands. And thankfully I had lots of staples because it seems like I use my stapler a lot in this video. And I guess I showed you all the third one as well. One last staple. And I'm going to put the fishing net in. I just want to get an idea of how I want it. Well, the first time didn't work very well. I cut it off before looking at it, and it ended up being just like a string. So the next time I actually opened it up and had a good look at it and spread it across the fish. Got an idea of how much I was going to need and then trimmed it off. So to start attaching the fishing net, I just used some hot glue on the back. Then I trimmed it on the other side and did the exact same thing. And you sure do need your finger protectors because I don't know how many times I burned myself before I realized I have like 10 or 20 finger protectors, so no excuse not to have one on. Spare yourself a blister. So for the tail, it's not as wide, and I'm just going to wrap the rope around 3 times to match what I did on the head. Then I'm coming in with one of the larger drill bits I have and drilling a hole in the bottom of the fish. And I did originally cut the dowel with a saw, but I came in and just kind of broke it with a pair of pliers. Just to make the dowel a little bit shorter, or else it's going to be too fragile and kind of all over the place. So I made it a little smaller, and then I used the same drill bit to cut a hole in the square piece of wood. Now on the original, I saw some kind of rope on the bottom, so I decided to wrap the whole square, and then when I got to where the dowel comes in, wrap it a little bit around the bottom of the dowel. It's for looks, but also stability, and I'll show you a little bit of it right here. See how I'm bringing the string into the middle? And then I'll wrap it up maybe like an inch on the dowel, and you will see that during the final reveal. Coming right up. Subscribe and give me a big thumbs up. See you soon.